He was the 13th overall pick out of San Diego State in the 1969 draft and had, in his 13 seasons in the National Football League, sacks been kept as a stat. His 104 career sacks would currently rank 28th all-time. He is Fred Dreyer here on the show. Good to see you, Fred.
Thank you very much, Rich. Great to be here.
You bet. So when you showed up in 1969, a rookie, you were with the New York Giants, and Fran Tarkenton was there, and obviously the Mara family.
Homer Jones.
What was that like for a kid just coming out of college and suddenly you're thrown in the NFL? 1969, there's the New York Giants organization.
Well, the one thing I kept thinking flying in was, I'm going to see Yankee Stadium tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I went up to 10 Columbus Circle, talked with Wellington Mara, the owner, and then Jim Trimble at the time was working in personnel, and we took the train out to Yankee Stadium.
The 4 train or the D train or something like that?
The Lexington Avenue.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the 4 train.
It just jumped us right off in left field, you know. We just walked down, went right through the back door, you know. And so I remember going into the Yankee dugout and seeing the white rug and the blue NY and looking around and seeing all the empty lockers. And then this is in January of 70. Right after I was in '69 when I was drafted, and then we walked down the little tunnel into the Yankee first base dugout, and then up onto the top step, and I remember looking out at left field, and realizing that if you were standing during a Yankee game and you were standing in the dugout, you couldn't see the third baseman because the field dropped off. Mm-hmm. And so you could see all the infielders except for the third baseman. So I was noticing all these interesting things. And it was a cold, drizzly day, and I sprinted out over second base into center field to see the drain pipe that Mickey Mantle stepped in when he tore up his knee. And I said, "Do you mean to tell me it's still here?"
So you think they capped that thing?
Pull it out.
Yeah, right.
You know? So all through my rookie year, you know, the way the field was set up in the old Yankee Stadium was the football field was set up just to the left of the drain. Mm-hmm. So the drain was actually underneath the visitor's bench.
Okay.
In center field.
Sure.
And every time we play a game, you know, and I'd always kind of find my way over to in front of the visitor's bench. And I remember telling Bill Bradley, who was a safety for Philadelphia, I said, "Hey, Bill, you know, right over there is where Mickey blew his." He goes, "Really?" And so we had this conversation during the game. It was great.
Old school stuff, man. And then you came to the Los Angeles Rams in 1972. That was just at the beginning of a huge stretch here in Los Angeles football. Yeah. What was your memory of walking into the locker room for the first time? There's Jack Youngblood, who is just fresh off the campus of Florida, Merlin Olsen in the mix. What was that like joining that group, Fred?
It was terrific because I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and in 1958 I was 12, and my father took my brother and I to go see my first Ram game at the Coliseum with the Bears. And it was also the same year that the Dodgers moved into the Coliseum to play their first season here in L.A. So it was a great thing for me, and to finally come full circle and play for my home team. One of the first things I did when in the first preseason game in '72, I came down the tunnel and made a beeline right into the end zone and went right down what would be the third base side of the cutout dugout, cutout baseball field, the Coliseum, and went right over to the edge, and talked to 2 people who sat in the same seats as I did when I was a kid watching Dodger games. Yeah, it was a great moment. It was, and that's the first thing I thought about. Going to the stadium, getting dressed. I couldn't wait to get out.
Both instances, going to the Giants and the Rams, you're talking about a baseball configuration of the stadiums in which you went in.
Yeah, and it was a great experience. And you know, the beauty of it is everybody was naive. Culture was naive, in a sense. And I was terribly naive, but so eager when I got to New York to really make the best of it and take part in a great franchise. It's still a great franchise, certainly, but at that time, I was asked, many times over the years, what's your greatest thrill? And I said, the greatest thrill was being 23 and playing in Yankee Stadium. The
Awesome.
greatest thrill.
And then you played for the Los Angeles Rams, and I want to take a break. When we come back in 60 seconds, you're here to talk about Battle of the Network Stars that you've been on now in 2 different iterations of the show, the current one on ABC, the Howard Cosell version back in the day. I want to know what the tug of war was like with Telly Savalas when it was like Hunter versus Kojak.
I'm getting older as we speak.
Come on now, Fred. And then I do want to ask you some more football questions. Fred Dreyer when we come back in 60 seconds here on The Rich Eisen Show. 104 career sacks, 153 episodes of Hunter. One man, Fred Dreyer, back here on The Rich Eisen Show.
I'm a double hyphenate,
You are that, Fred. So would you have gotten into acting if you didn't come play for the LA Rams, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
You would have?
Oh, yeah. I was fortunate. I had many interests, and I could have gone a couple different ways. Real estate development. I had real estate when I was playing with the Rams.
You did real estate while you were playing?
Yeah, I bought properties and did stuff, and so I suddenly amassed a bunch of stuff, and I said, well, I can go that direction. I can go into acting, I think. I didn't have any idea how to go do that at that time, in 72, 73, but I had a vision for myself outside of playing football. You can only do that sport for maybe 2.5, 3 years before you realize I got a dotted line around my neck. I could go down any time, So you have to figure it out and navigate your way through this life and use the football, the sports experience for a stepping stone to get where you want to go. And so I always knew that I had an acting interest. When I moved to LA, I immediately in 72 I jumped into acting classes. So I was doing a bunch of stuff.
Real estate, acting classes, Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah,
football.
while I was playing, and certainly in this off season, I would not waste any time. I just went from one thing to another. And when I got fired in '81. I couldn't wait to get into my car and come up to L.A. to my attorney's office in Westwood and just simply say, okay, let's go. We got stuff to do, and let's move it that direction.
Did you ever talk about it with Merlin Olsen, Father Murphy himself?
We were roommates on the road, and so for 4 years, I got to know Merlin pretty good, and we talked about a lot of stuff, and he was in the process. What was interesting is I was able to see and talk to him a little bit without being too nosy about his transition. Merlin didn't at the time want to be able to be seen as someone who was in conflict while he was playing. He didn't want someone to say, he's only here for another year or two before now he's going to get a big TV deal.
Yeah, how can you sack the quarterback if your little house is on the prairie?
But he was so professional, and it was just great to be around him. And we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. And then 1976 comes. All right, so you're playing in the Super Bowl in the Rose Bowl.
79 actually.
79 was when that happened.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So 76 comes, and Gus the Kicking Mule hits the silver screen. Was that your big
Disney's movie? I was in other stuff before the kicking field goal donkey, and I swear, let me tell you something.
Yeah,
he could kick.
Come on now,
he could kick.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, he could kick.
We
used to laugh it up. I mean, they pulled out every ex-football player in town. They emptied all the bars out.
Well, Butkus was in it too, right?
Everybody was in it. It was hilarious. We're in the locker room getting dressed up, and everybody started laughing because it was so funny. It looked like a huge parking lot get together. Before one of the guys was going to get married or something. It was a huge tailgate, and we even struck for better wages.
So you're saying, hold on a minute. Gus the Kicking Mule could really kick.
He could kick.
The mule could. That was not some sort of.
This was an extremely stupid animal, but when you
it is an ass, right?
When you put a football in front of him, he knew what to do.
Okay, and so you and Butkus and who were the other players? That were
God, it was Deacon. There was, There was every Joe Carollo, there was everybody that ever lived in California that played for somebody.
And you got together and said to Disney, we want more money?
Well, yeah, because it was long hours.
Okay.
So we said, hey, look, I mean.
Did you get what you wanted?
We got a bump.
When was the last residual check you got from Gus the Kicking Mule, Fred?
That hole dried up about 22 years ago. Although I do get checks, I still make a joke about it. I do get checks on some of the first things I ever did.
Like what?
It was a movie I did in the mid '70s. I think it might have been '76. Yes, because I had a beard at that time.
There was Gus. Hold on, I've got the Fred Dreyer IMDb page up right here.
You'll
Let me see. Well, it says you did. I don't know. I mean, it says you did Gus, and then the next thing you did was play a lifeguard in Laverne and Shirley. Fred.
I did that.
And then you were in Lou Grant, who, by the way, played by Ed Asner, who was the coach of Gus the Kicking Mule.
Yes, he was. And we talked a lot about that. We talked about that
on the set of
donkey. I said, how about your donkey?
You and on the set of Lou Grant, you're talking about Gus the Kicking Mule.
Yeah, Lou Grant.
You were in Chips.
Yep.
The Rousters.
Yeah.
Heart to Heart.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then came Hunter.
Yeah, I got in a fight with
Robert Wagner?
Bob Wagner. He says, please call me RJ, Fred. As I knocked him out, I call him RJ.
With a real hit?
No. It was my character was a murderer, and he chases me up on the roof, and we have a big, wrestling match.
Yeah.
But there's one in there.
Yeah, I'm looking at your movies.
There's an independent film in there.
I don't see it. That's how independent it is, quite frankly.
If
you're still getting residuals.
I looked at that a couple years ago, and I just said, well, they're missing a bunch of stuff like they usually
just
do.
looking at everything you got right here.
There's a bunch of stuff on there.
And then Hunter. I mean, that was a hell of a run.
Well, it's funny you said the Rousters. That was a pilot Steve Cannell did for, I think, ABC, I think it was.
Yeah.
And Robert Davi and I were cast as crazed twins. Wait a minute, unidentical twins. Like the split P group. Happy and Pee Wee.
Here's how nuts I am, Del Tufo. You know who Robert Davi is? He's the one in Die Hard who told him that you lose the grid or you lose your job. Yeah. He was the FBI agent.
Oh yeah.
Who came on the scene. This is how nuts I am, Fred.
No, this is good. Rich.
I was built for this conversation. I was built for this football and pop culture
give me
conversation.
all you got, because we can go all day. So anyway, I got the Hunter interview.
Yes.
Because of my work with Bob on the Rousters on this 2-hour movie.
So there would be no Hunter if it wasn't for the Rousters.
I won't say that, but I do know that I was floating around town and they said, hey, how about that guy? Well, yeah, okay, bring him in. It was, half the people, my first couple of years was very frustrating because I would get calls to come out and read for stuff. And I'd walk over, and like everybody else, you have your sides, and you're looking at it and stuff. And the guy says, "Okay, come on in." And you walk in, and there's 35 people in there, and all they wanted to do was talk about the Rams.
That's it.
That's it. And I said, "Should I read this?" He goes, "No, it's okay.
Fantastic.
You don't have to read it."
And now you're in Battle of the Network Stars, Thursday, 8-9 Eastern on ABC. You were in the original Battle of the Network Stars, right? You got a good Cosell story from the set of the old Battle.
Well, Howard, loved the cigars, and so we were out at Malibu, which is where we were for this one.
Yes.
But we were out at the Malibu campus, and I was out there with my girlfriend at the time, and she was seeing some friends who were in the actual contest, and so Howard's out there with with Gifford. Mm-hmm. This was part of Wide World of Sports.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it has a whole roster of great network people, and then a lot of present-day TV stars, And Howard's out there holding court, and he's got his cigar, and he's trembling, he's chewing on a cigar. And of course, I come over to him, and I said, "Hey, Howard, I've just done kind of a citizens poll here, and they all want you to leave." That's not gonna happen today.
was always my favorite. You know, the Monday Night Football guy, the Monday Night Baseball guy, and he would be, "Here comes Bob Conrad, leading Team NBC.
Without the battery.
Taking on Telly Savalas, Kojak himself with Gabe Kaplan." Oh, my God. I'm telling you, I was built for this conversation.
No, this is really good. This is good.
Oh, gosh. Come back anytime, man. FredDryer.co. Check out Highway 395, which is a feature film that you directed and starred in at FredDryer.co. Check that out. Check out Battle of the Network Stars, Thursday, 9 Eastern on ABC.
Yep.
Please, let's come back. We've only scratched the surface
Just
of
give
what
me
you
a
and
call.
I can
We can
converse.
go all day long about Howard.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yep.
Fred Dryer here on The Rich Eisen Show. Don't you dare move. We'll wrap this show up in a moment.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that, download our app. Please, just if it's a memory thing, just delete other apps. You don't need those apps. This app, the Rich Eisen Show app, you need that.